Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus again, and this is a Thursday morning, and 2020, July, I believe it's the 9th, and it's raining. I was awakened this morning listening to the discussion by the Congressional Black Caucus, and they're talking about what we as people of color are enduring right now and the efforts that are being made to address these concerns. And it just caught my attention. I'm sitting in there listening to these guys, and I guess it's one thing that brings something to my attention. Perhaps it's just being an elder, being here for so long. And I see the politicians and youngsters out here seeking redress for some of the concerns that we have, and I'm just thinking, when are they going to learn? Well, here's one thing on my mind, ladies and gentlemen, is this. We were discussing, when I first, black cops killing a lot of black people. And they were talking about, the discussion, the changes that they want to implement. But the truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, cops, as bad as they are, as awful as they are, and yes, they were designed to serve a good purpose for those for whom it was designed for. They do good for those they were designed for. Those that they weren't designed for, they do terrible, but good for those people who designed them to do terrible. Anyway, cops are not the problem. They are a symptom. And that is just one little bit area of our lives that the problems exist with cops. So we as a people who are concerned about some real changes, to spend any time talking about cops is nothing but a waste of time. What we got to do is talk about a system change, not little pieces of the system, but change the system. Design the system to do what we say we want the system to do. Let me say that again, sit down and design. Those founding fathers who brought this into being with slavery sat down and decided. Now we can do no less than that. We can't sit around and bitch and discussing this, discussing that. We've been discussing and discussing long enough. Now we need to sit down and design a society that will produce exactly and maintain what we say we want. What do we want? Do we want a system that assures every citizen that if they live in America, they will have access to food, clothing, and shelter? Do we want a system like that? Then if we do, what do we have to do to get that system? Let us discover that. And then that's what we project that we'll do. Do we want a system that says that every citizen of this nation can have access to education? Nothing restricts it. Do we want a system like that? Then let us sit back and design a system like that. Stop trying to piece this stuff together. This cancer, piecing it together. It ain't gonna work. Let me ask you something. Do you want a system where every citizen of this nation can have health care? Do you? If you don't, why don't you? Might be you left out. So I'm thinking that you probably do. And if you do, then let's sit down, discuss this thing, and come up with a plan that would do exactly that. Let's take this here, take our time, as serious as what you say founding fathers took theirs. Let's take our time, and people of color, we were left out in that other thing. We need to stand up and make sure that these people take time. And let me tell you one way. I'm going to tell you one way to get these people to take time, ladies and gentlemen. Now you listen to me. You just got through and you're still talking about, as I left out, the problems. We passed this law, we can't get people to enforce it, we can't do this, so they're not really thinking about you. Still, like they say, 401 years. Now listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you I studied this thing. And I want to tell you that all the stuff that you're trying is not going to work. It's going to always fall short. Why? Because it is designed, the system was designed to do what it's doing. And anybody trying to think on the system line, trying to come up with a solution, going to end up with failure. Why? Because you got to realize that this is the nucleus. And anything like that, you can't fix that. You got to change that. And so, having spent all these years, I advocate what I know will work. But I like to suggest it to you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's accept the fact that out of all these years, nothing proper has happened, and it's not going to happen. Okay? Let's accept that as a premise. Let's accept also on the premise of what I just got through mentioning, that it is required that if we want something, we sit down and describe what it is, come up with how we're going to get it, and then do it. Now, you know that's the best way. Everybody that heard my voice know that's the best way now, but are you willing to do it that way? Well, based upon the way the system is and pulling people from the system the way it is and saying let's do it this way, it's going to be very complicated. We've come a long way, I must admit, as expressed in the killing of and the murder of George Floyd. But how far are we willing to go? Are we willing to put our clothes off and stand out naked before the world and say, this is me? Whether you like it or not, this is me. But I'm okay with me because there's no one that can claim that I'm causing them any pain. Can you do that? Well, to the Congressional Black Caucus, to the people of color, including black folks, and white people who got a heart, if you want to change the system and do those things that are proper, the best thing you can do right now in this election season is to start advocating to the one another and to the nation that there's a young man out here with a proposal that implements a government, a different system of government. It's not making America great again. It make us great again as individuals, as citizens, and everything that we touch becomes great because we're great. And what is that? We are talking about not the those statues that are being torn down, not the Confederate system of government. We saw that. And now we're not even talking about this democratic system of government, because we saw that. Even the Confederacy worked on the democratic. So it permitted these different things. So what I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Run Eddie Marcus for President of the United States. Take your focus off the people who are those who have profited from the system. Take your focus off them. They don't have to say anything. We know what they want. What we're going to implement. We're going to make the changes. Let's focus on making Eddie Marcus. And why Eddie Marcus? Because Eddie Marcus has no plan except the plan that he just mentioned, which he considers as a government of God. And we can't argue with it because no one in our being is advocating the realness of that. You know, it come out of our mouth, but that's about as far as it goes. Talking about sitting at the table, talking about peace, when we know we got to talk about justice. So we are, as a nation, as a policy-making institute, we're not going to do anything that's going to violate that. No injustices. So what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to shake America up, start looking at a different candidate. Not a Republican, not a Democrat, but who's advocating for the government of God. That means that everything that works for God works for Republicans and works for Democrats. And if the Democrats got some plan outside of God, it is not that on God's agenda. If the Republicans got some kind of plan that's outside of God's plan, it is not on this agenda. Now, let me give you a little bit of other stuff before I go. I want you to know this kind of stuff because people have given God a bad name. These folks out here talking about God know nothing about God and presenting a God that for all these 400 years been sitting right here watching us in slavery. I was at a meeting one time, people was pissed, talking about what kind of God is this? Watched us in 400 years in slavery and hasn't done anything to relieve this pain. And I guess to the degree that they hadn't even given them an idea, hadn't given them the courage to stand up and walk away. No, they don't want a God like that. They want a God that keeps them free, a God of all of the wonderful things of life. That's the, if every one of you want a God like that. And so a government that represents a God like that is a government that loves all of us. We can trust a government like that. We know we can't trust no human being government. Every human being government on the face of the earth is gonna screw us. Now, I'm telling you this, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know it's true. You can act like you don't, that this indoctrination of the system that you had all your life won't turn you loose. You just got to find some way to hang on something. You might take a skip on Trump. That's what these conservatives, Republicans are saying. They say, well, we might take a skip on Trump. We might go on down to Joe Biden, but we're definitely not going to God's government. That's what they're saying. So they're saying that those of you who are suffering right now, they might acquiesce and give you a piece of evil crumb, but that's all they're willing to do. And if that's what you will accept, that's exactly what you're going to get. The Democrats, they want to give you a little bit more. Why? They want to give you a little bit more so they can appear to be better than the other. And so you would give them the opportunity to, and then by so doing, you lift yourself up a little bit, but you're not going anywhere. And that's why the Republicans will be coming back 4 years later talking about give us a chance. They've been doing it every year. They do it all the time. See, they do it because these other people, you go in office and you don't perform. If you perform, the nation will love you, and no one will want to run against you. But every 4 years, they didn't do good. See, ladies and gentlemen, that's a game. Now, I didn't intend to talk this long, but I ended up talking this long. So I'm going to end this, and I'm going to do a little nugget to say to the Congressional Black Caucus what I intended to say, but I ended up talking to all of you. Thank you so very much for giving me this your time. I hope I didn't mess your minds up too much. Hope you got something out of this. And until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying goodbye.